Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel, where we've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 43, Episode 3. That's right, I'm your host, Chris, and with me today again is my co-host, Jake. Jake, how have you been?
I'm good. First time this season going back to only 45-minute episodes. What did you
Yeah.
notice it this week?
I did notice it,
Yeah,
and we'll
I noticed.
definitely get into it. And first time going to 45 minutes this week, and also first time for Don't Read here in the live as well. We're in a little bit of a different time slot than normally. Jay also back saying, finally, hello, guys. Jay, welcome back to the live. We moved it this week because for those that saw the video that I posted on the channel a couple of days ago, maybe last week, I sort of mentioned that the challenge, which I also covered, I kind of am struggling to fit that in because both Drew and Chantel being over in North America, the times that I normally work and the times that I'm going to be doing some additional stuff, I've got a really exciting project that I'm working on at the moment in my personal life is going to keep me busy in some of those days. But Jake has been kind enough to move the time to a time that suits both of us. Jake, and I do thank you for it. I know you're a couple of minutes late this week, but we'll try and be
Yeah,
as on time as we can next week for this same time slot.
yeah. I'm a sucker for going on these with you, Chris. So I'll accommodate however I
Yeah.
can.
Well, I would have been sad if I couldn't talk to you about Survivor. I mean, this has been a tradition now. When did we start? We started on Australian Survivor Blood
Yeah,
versus Water for this channel, but then also the previous channel, we did some international Survivor on that one. And I tell you
yeah,
what, like it wouldn't be the same doing these without you, Jake, because I get to have an American perspective and we get
yeah.
the best of both worlds. We get the international and the American perspective in one podcast, which I think is unique.
It is. It is. It's really cool. That's why I was so excited to start working with you, and it's been awesome.
Don't read. I know I'm very disappointed as well. I really enjoy talking to both Drew and Chantel on those challenge episodes that we've done. It's just the sad thing when you've got three people. You know, Jake's a student, so he can like sort of accommodate me a little bit. But with both Drew and Chantel, they've got very busy schedules as well. But I will say one thing, and I know this is off topic for those that are listening to the audio version of this podcast, but I will at some point come back to do challenge content. How that's going to be and with who it's going to be, I don't know at this stage. The Challenge Australia being the most likely one. I've had early conversations with Channel 10 about potentially doing exit interviews for the Challenge Australia. And who knows, maybe if something really big happens in the Challenge 38, I might do one or two shorter form videos talking about it because I'm still going to be watching it. It's going to be hard to sit on the sidelines and not say anything, you know, especially because I am a fan of the show as well. But Jake, let's get into this episode. You mentioned 45 minutes. Did I notice
Mhm.
it? I definitely did. Like I felt like it was a
Yeah,
bit shorter, but I think it was good, not bad. I don't necessarily know. Like for the longest period of time, we as fans have been shouting we want longer episodes because we've gotten so used to, especially the very big fans that watch the international version of the show. We've gotten used to those longer episodes, but I don't know if the US have necessarily used that extra time wisely because they've given us a lot about people's backstory, which I enjoy. But now with the third episode, hearing Noel tell his story for maybe the third time as well, it's a very powerful story. But it is kind of like, well, there's nothing else happening at camp right now. Neka's story on the other side, that was interesting because I didn't know about that story. I didn't know about the mission and the fact that she wanted to give back to this mission in Nigeria, who's helping kids, and it really puts in perspective living in a first world country versus a third world country, which coming from South Africa, I've got a little bit of experience with it. I don't know, I can't compare it with Nigeria. I've never been there, but it was great to hear her story. But again, like I said, I kind of felt like I liked the 45 minutes personally.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. I think for this one, it worked well. For the first two episodes, I felt like they used the time fairly well, but for this one, I think it would have been stretching it if they would have gone for an hour or 90 minutes or however long they do it.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy with it, like with the 45 minutes. But we start off again at the Vessi tribe here. Cody is the first person that sort of tells us about the mission that he had to undertake, getting the Beware advantage, the fact that he only had minutes to get the beads from everyone before going to tribal council so he could vote. And a very different thing is going to happen here this episode because Carla is going to find the same Beware advantage and she's going to employ or deploy a very different strategy to get the beads from everyone. And I've got to say, I am standing Carla at this stage more so. Like, I mean, Cody, I think, is just a more lovable character overall, but that's harsh, actually. Carla's very lovable at this stage as well. They're
Hmm.
both stars, but I've got to say, I'm kind of standing Carla more at this stage because her approach took so much more skill in my mind because she had to do all of it on her own, and no one's aware that she's even got this advantage.
I agree. I think that from the beginning, I was like, yeah, I really like Carla, but they just weren't really showing a lot of the Blue Tribe, and I was like, I kind of feel like she's my favorite on that tribe, but yeah, this was like her like breakout episode of like she completely stole the show, even though they that tribe didn't even go to tribal council, and I totally agree. Cody um, kind of had his allies do the work for him in like convincing them. He had two other people helping him, and with her, it was all on her own. And I don't know if it was just the sequencing of the clips, but I was thinking like, man, how are they not catching on that like something's going on? Because she seemed like very fixated on getting it done. I don't know if like, obviously they don't show exactly when things happen or how long after each clip is, but I remember thinking like the second she got back from getting it, she immediately asked James for it. So if they really didn't have any idea, then I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, Jay here says, I wish they'd show more of the Coco tribe. And then
Mhm.
also here saying, she's playing really well, but she's too obvious of a front runner at the moment to be a winner. And I wonder if she's that obvious to us as viewers because the rest of the people in that Coco tribe don't seem to have much game in them at this point. I found it very interesting that at Tribe, when they were talking about the fact that, James, it was his birthday, happy island birthday, James, for when you were out there on Survivor. I mean, it'd be pretty cool to have your birthday while being on Survivor, unless you're Rodney, who didn't get anything on his birthday. But, having his birthday there, he's like, I'm going to go walk around. I'm going to look for idols. And Lindsay coming in quite hot with the
Yeah,
why would you want to do that? That's going to put a target on your back and really trying to put pressure on him not to
yeah.
do it. What did you think
Kind of.
of this strategy by Lindsay to sort of try and keep him in his place? And we didn't see him search for it, so maybe it worked. He actually went to go sleep.
I thought it was kind of funny because it's like she's kind of just saying what everyone else is feeling, but she just had the balls to say it. Um, I don't, I don't know. We didn't really get to hear from the other people about what Lindsay said, but or even about what James said. But if I were there, I'd be like, why are you just saying that in front of everyone to both of them? I would have just
Yeah.
been in a lot of shock that they would even bring that up. Um, I guess he kind of took their birthday wishes a bit too far, thinking that they were just going to let him get away with that. Clearly
Yeah.
not.
And clearly, Carla must have some sort of mist over these players where they just can't see that she's a true gamer. She is truly
Mhm.
probably like Je said here in the live, the front runner in the Coco tribe right now, but no one is seeing it. So it must be something about her charisma, how
Mhm.
she's talking and engaging with other people, where they're all feeling like they're her best friend and no one is questioning her. But she also has really good awareness in camp because she does choose the moment to go and look for the beware advantage at the right time. She waits until most of her tribe goes out on this boat or out into the water, and James falls asleep. So that means no one's around camp to see what she's actually doing. And she goes out, she finds this little envelope, she looks at it, notices that it's the beware advantage. She realizes she could lose her vote and that she's already played it safe once in the game. And her natural instinct is to put it back and then walk back. And I'm going to be honest with you, at that point in the episode, not knowing what the end result was going to be, I was fist pumping in the air because I was like, finally, someone is doing the right thing
Yep.
by not picking up the beware advantage. Because in my mind, if you know where it's at, you keep an eye on whoever is going in that direction, and you lead someone else to get it, and then you paint a target on that person because they don't have a vote unless they get what they need in the game. So I feel like the knowledge of who's got the beware advantage is actually more powerful, is actually the meta move at this stage compared to actually getting the idol, even though it did work out well for her in this case.
Yeah, what did we say last season? Knowledge is power. I mean, not necessarily having the advantage, just knowing what the advantage is or who has it, even if it's not yourself. So I totally agree, and I was exactly the same as I was watching. I was like, "Good call, good call," but I was like, "Wait, why are they showing us that she left it?" I feel like that they were, like, what's the point? So I figured like either she was going to go back for it or someone was going to like swoop in right afterwards. Um, and so yeah, I think it's a very interesting progression to show like, she played it safe in episode one. She almost played it safe again, but she um, almost, I mean, in my opinion, in the moment, I thought it was kind of foolish to go back for it, but I mean, shouldn't have had any doubts because she played it off really well and was able to get it.
Now, Don't Read here in the live is saying, I'm not a big fan of the beats. It kind of seems too easy. Both players got the beats in minutes, it seemed like. I feel like it's probably a lot harder than we as viewers can appreciate. And my question to you, Jake, is do you think that other players within the Coco tribe or within the Vessi tribe would have been as effective in doing this? I feel like Jesse probably would have been really good at it. I felt like Jesse and Neka kind of really gave Cody the plan on a silver platter there, and they
Mhm.
kind of helped him get it. I wonder in the Coco tribe how many other people would have played this as well as Carla did, because I feel like that's taken away from potentially the skill that was involved in her doing what she did and bartering. I think not since Sandra bartering in Pearl Islands before they got on the island have we seen someone do it as effectively.
Yeah, I think that the beads are because you can pretty easily make an excuse and say, "Oh, I want to make a bracelet," which is exactly what Carla did. And so I feel like somebody like Ryan or Cassidy, I'm not sure about like um, their social games and how close they are to everyone, but I just feel like the kind of personality they have, they just kind of seem like the kind of person to want to have like a souvenir to bring home. I think Gabler would be able to pull it off probably if he were to find it, because he even talked about this episode. We'll get to that with his idol, thinking it's fake. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll just bring it home as a souvenir. So I think that it does give kind of a good excuse, but it's kind of the obvious one. So I feel like it's going to get really interesting come merge when people start talking about um, the
Yeah.
beads and bracelets, like learning who has it on other tribes.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Christian here saying that he doesn't think it's going to be an advantage in season 44. I'm inclined to believe that probably season 44 will have this back to back because the
Mhm.
players in season 44 wouldn't have seen how it played out. Jeff seems to
Yeah.
like the whole how will the other tribe or a different cast adapt to the same twists that's being given to them as the previous season. He did it with 41 and 42. So I don't know why he would change that necessarily going into 44. But where I do think we probably won't see it again is in 45, because then players have seen this play out. So again, the cat's out of the bag. People kind of know what to expect with this specific twist. But I do want to move back to Vesey here in the beginning of the episode. We get a little bit from both Jesse and Dwight talking about the relationship between them being fractured. Obviously, Jesse voted the way that he wanted to vote there in the previous episode, sending Justine home, which now means that Noelle and Dwight seems to be getting closer and closer together on this specific episode. How fearful are you for Jesse moving into next week's episode or moving forward in the game right now? Because between him and Cody, he's the one that does not have an advantage, and it does look like Noelle and Dwight are very much fixated on him as someone that they need to keep an eye on. I love Jesse. I think he's a great player, but, we're going to have to ask the question, did they make the right move at the end of this episode? But maybe leave that for a little bit later. I'm worried. Let's explore this a little bit later, because I am worried for Jesse. Let's think about this as the podcast, as the recap, the review sort of unfolds here. And let's move to Baka, because we did have JE here say that he's very interested to see how Baka is going to handle this potential twist. And we don't know how it's going to work with Baka, or if the idol is even relevant still, because they've already lost a tribe member with a bead. So does that mean that they now have to collect one less bead, or does that bead, the ghost of that bead, still exists somewhere in the island? We're going to have to wait and see how that, is going to play out. Moira's bag makes an appearance in Ghost Island 2, the bead that was never gathered.
I'm very curious to see what they're gonna do. Like, are they gonna replace it with something else? Like, it's no longer beads. Now there's something else they have to do. I remember last season with Drea, she had to put her arm through the paint, a bunch of paint, and then wash it off. Maybe it's maybe they only reserved the beads for when there were all of the tribe mates were still in the game.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping, because it would be almost it would be Jamal. It would be a Jamal level setup, if they leave that advantage in there. And probably even worse than Jamal. We thought it was bad back then. It's just progressively getting worse and worse, and they're de-incentivizing people to actually take these advantages in the game. But in the Baka tribe here in the early stages, we see Gabler sleeping on the beach. The girls are talking about the fact that he's moved out of camp and he is seeking his own space at certain times in the game, because he's probably more and more grumpy now that he doesn't have food, doesn't have proper hydration and things like that. And it seems like the game is getting to him in a massive degree. But throughout this episode, it really does look again like the girls. I was high on Ellie's chances of winning this season, but man, after this episode, you'd be a brave man to bet on Ellie, because it looks like she's getting a lot of the wrong reads here.
Man, we were hyping up my team so much because I had Ellie and Jesse, and then now look at it. I'm very disappointed. Just the confidence has gone to her head. I mean, she was perfectly right to be confident at first, because it seemed like she kind of had a grasp on the tribe, but now, kind of everyone, she kind of blew her cover. Everyone's in the know of what's going on with her, and I think she's toast if they lose.
Yeah, I think she's in trouble. But I do think it's going to ride on one person in that tribe.
Oh, okay. I know. Yeah,
I'm really enjoying the dynamic of the Baka tribe and how it's unfolding right in front of our eyes, because you've got the girls that are very confident. They're stringing the boys along. They're the ones that are the kingmakers and can choose which one of the boys are going to stay with them. And they're going to start shifting their attention to Gabler, because they don't know if he's going to be a liability down the road for them. And I do think that there is a lot of game in both Janine and Ellie's, arsenal. I do think they're players that came with strategy, and that's more than what can be said for 80% of the Coco tribe at this stage. But also, the Coco tribe has been comfortable in winning and not having to strategize, not having to think about who's next on the chopping block. So that kind of creates or breeds complacency within that tribe at this point. But what I do want to say is with Baka, the one player, the one that I am struggling to read at this point, and I don't know where they're going to go, is Owen. And I think that's where I'm going with Owen. Owen was
Hmm.
my first pick coming into the season. He had a bit of a shaky start, I would say. I see a lot of people here in the live with Don't Read here saying as well, Sammy and Jesse is the two front runners in their opinion, because they're giving their opinions on every situation. I will eat crow when it comes to Sammy, man. Like, that guy has impressed me a lot. He's playing a great, phenomenal game. I didn't see it coming. I'm glad he's in my team at this point. I think I picked him up at some point, but he was quite a late pick for both of us in this season. But he's doing really well. But I still think Owen is the one. He's the dark horse to look out for. And I'll tell you why I think Owen is the dark horse. Owen was there when they looked through the bag, so the girls trusted him to that level. Owen remained quiet and did not give that information to the boys. Sammy uncovered that information when he talked to both Ali and Janine, and then took that to Gabler. And at that point, Owen pretended like he didn't know. So for me, what that means is that Owen is still keeping his options very much open
Yep.
in the game as to where he wants to go. We're being told that Gabler is going to go after the girls, and we're being told that Sammy is annoyed that Ali is thinking she's in control of the tribe, and he wants to be in control of the tribe. But I think the true power lies with Owen. What is your read on Owen at this stage? Where do you think he is going, and where do you think he should be going in the game at this point, based on the limited information, obviously, that we have watching this episode?
That is a very good question. I actually have no idea. That I think that I'm with you. Like I don't know where he's gonna go. I think that the fact that he's even keeping his options open at all kind of shows that um, there's a very good chance that he could go with the girls because I don't know, maybe Gabler he just doesn't. Gabler's kind of a he's a little wacky, maybe not the most trustworthy ally, just kind of all over the place. I mean, we saw him in episode one saying that he was going to play a shot in the dark, like right when he came back from camp or from the challenge. Um, yeah, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen.
I think Owen is in the driver's seat in that tribe, and I
I
do
think so
think
too.
with the conversations he's had with Noel when they went to the island, that's going
Hmm.
to continue to just build his arsenal, and that's like a hidden tool he's got there that people don't know about. Just want to acknowledge Zoe coming in with 14 Rand all the way from South Africa. My good friend Zoe, who does the Survivor South African podcasts with me, actually, we'll have to get you on at some point to give your opinions about this season if I can find a way for it to work in the time zones and everything that I'm trying to juggle. But Zoe says, I love this episode. My opinion is that the game has just begun. And I do think that there is a few tribes that are playing hard right now. Vessi and Baka comes to mind. Coco, outside of Carla, I don't know if anyone's playing yet. And for them, I don't know if the game has started yet. Uh, Also, Zoe saying Owen will go wherever that gets him to the merge, and he is her man. Christian, so I think there's a different comment here. A few people thinking Sammy could be an early boot if
I could see that
potentially Owen
happening.
says, "Hey, Sammy is busy throwing you under the bus with Gabler, to
Well,
Ellie."
because also Gabler has the idol, so if they go to tribal council again, then maybe um, Owen's gonna convince Gabler that they're voting for him, and then he'll play the idol, but then they're actually gonna vote for Sammy, him,
Yeah.
and the girls. So that could be a possibility.
So Christian, you're saying he thinks that because he's playing aggressive, and I tell you what, I don't think he's doing anything wrong. If he's doing something wrong, it is the fact that he's having the same problem we're having, which is to read Owen. Because he did in the beginning say he does not trust Owen and that Owen can be
Hmm.
dangerous down the line. And that was in
Foreshadowing.
episode one. And he wanted to get Owen out of the game. So Owen could be his downfall in the game for sure. But I do think he is reading the situation right when it comes to the girls. I do think to take the power away from the likes of Ali and Janine is the right move here because they're playing aggressive. So aggressive game from them is forcing him to play an aggressive game, which is becoming this boys versus girls things that he said he didn't want. He didn't want a boys versus girls situation in the tribe, but they're kind of pushing it that way. So now he feels more safe in that other group. And, if you were to choose from Sammy's perspective to either go with Ali and Janine, who both seem like capable players, or go with Gabler, whose head does not seem to be in this game and to be very emotional and reacting to everything that Sammy says in a positive way. He seems like Sammy's sorry if this is disrespectful, but kind of like his meat puppet at this stage. Like he can get anything done through Gabler if he wanted to. Where are you
Mhm.
going to go? You're going to go with the path of least resistance, and where you could be in a power position to make more of the plays instead of being second or third fiddle with Ali and Janine.
Yeah, it would be if I were in his shoes. I'd be doing the same thing. I'd really have a problem with how confident the girls are, especially when Ellie was saying like, "Oh, I'm closer with Gabler than you are, so I'll talk to him." And I actually think it was Janine that said, "Oh, yeah, Ellie's closer to Gabler," and then she like agreed with her. And Sam, you could see it on his face. He was like, "You think Ellie's closer to Gabler?" Okay. And I
And I'm
was like,
surprised they didn't pick that up. I didn't, because he had a very visible
"Yeah,
negative reaction to that. And
yeah,
both girls, this is bad on them as well. They were just blasé to it. Like, yeah, this is how it is. So
yeah."
I'm like,
I
how bad
was,
is their social reads? Because like he didn't hide it
yeah.
well.
Yeah, I am. But to be honest, like if I were in his shoes, like I'm a very expressive person. Like I would
Yeah.
have so much trouble like keeping my face like um, you know,
Neutral.
expressionless or neutral.
Yeah.
But like I would just be so like taken aback by that. Like, really, you think you're closer? Hmm, okay. It was, yeah, that was really
This
funny.
is where Owen is great. Like this is his superpower. This is why we
Yeah,
can't read him, because he's got no, like, he doesn't give anything away on his face
yeah.
expressions when he gets told this information. He's like, oh really, they're trying to do you dirty like
Mm,
that. And
mm,
he doesn't give anything away to anyone, and I love it, because I think the name of the game for Survivor is that you keep as much options open to yourself for as long as possible until you're backed into a corner where you are forced to choose a horse in the race, and then you've got to go down that direction. And in this very same episode, we learned that that is one of the things that Cody and Jesse didn't do so well. But we'll talk about that, because they got themselves in a certain situation ship, or a alliance ship, and they were kind of
yeah.
on that ship, and they had to choose: are they going to go down with the ship, or are they going to jump ship at this stage? So let's get into the immunity challenge here. So the immunity challenge here being a swimming platform that they've got to be on. They've got to jump down this platform, do a bit of an obstacle course in the water, get buoys, which the buoys were very different. And let's talk about this for a second. Do you think that this is being done to make it easier for everybody to actually get the buoys? Because in the past, you had to dive down and actually untie the buoys, but this time it had like a unlocking mechanism. It seemed like Survivor Light. We've got Survivor Light 26 days, Survivor Light, when it comes to the challenges, but yet this is the most challenging season of Survivor, the most challenging version of Survivor. That's what Jeff keeps claiming.
I very clearly noticed that too. I was like, oh, they usually have to work a bit harder, and I could be wrong, but it seemed like they were closer to the top as well. Um, who knows? Maybe it wouldn't have made much of a difference, but yeah, when you're claiming to be like the toughest season yet that we've ever seen, this
You got to back
era
it up.
is yeah, this era is harder than any you've ever seen. Yeah, you gotta like not only are they reusing challenges from the past, they're making them easier, which is yeah, pretty lame.
Yeah, I wonder what the old OG challenge legends, like challenge beasts on
Like
Survivor,
Colby,
such as Ozzy and Colby and Joey Amazing and Rob, all of
they're
them. What are they
they're
thinking about this?
scoffing.
They're probably like spitting out their coffee, looking at it, saying,
They're
"What?
never
This is the
gonna
most
watch
challenging. This is
Survivor
the
again.
most difficult."
Yeah,
They're like,
they're
"Let
on
me
the
back
phone with
in."
Jeff. They're on the
They're like,
phone with Jeff right now. Yeah,
yeah, like let
He-
me back in. You've got this.
yeah,
You've got this guy who's only like nearly turned 50, complaining about the fact that he's too old, and like a lot of them are nearly 50, and they'd probably run circles around him. Like, is this the best that Survivor's got to offer right now? I mean, it
yeah.
makes you wonder.
I mean, listen, the difficulty is not. Yeah, it's not really my issue with it. It's just like give us something new. Like not only are they the same like concepts, but they all just kind of look the same. Like just and the fact that we're still in Fiji, just visually Survivor.
Yeah,
If
I'm
you
with
were
you
to
on that.
see just if you just were to see a random scene with and blur the players' faces and the name of the tribe, like you couldn't tell if it was season 35 or if it was 43. It's all just kind of blurring into one, and it's just yeah.
Have you heard the latest on the ratings for the show, by the way?
I heard that it tanked a bit last week, but I think it climbed up a bit this week. I
I
think.
haven't seen this week, so I can't talk to this week. But last week, I believe it hit somewhere in the 3 million, which is crazy if you think about the fact that we were at 7 million in season 40, right, on consistent basis. And prior to
Streaming
that, like
services.
every season now, it's going down, it's going down, it's going down. And I would like to know, what does that look like on, like you said, the streaming services? How many people are watching it on Paramount Plus?
Yeah.
Like I do, I watch it on Paramount Plus, and how many watch it through different channels? Like, are we actually losing numbers consistently? But if you're in the war room for Jeff Probst's Survivor right now, and you're sitting there saying, why are we losing this amount of people? Because pretty soon it's going to be in the 2 mil. So I think it was 4.5 mil last week. Okay, so not 3 mil. Okay, so I might be wrong, but still, it's half what they did, if I'm remembering it correctly, for season 40, right? So it's consistently going down. You've got to be stressed about this. And I think it's not just one thing. I think it's an accumulation of, it's basically a death by 1,000 cuts, because they've changed so many little things in the show over the years that more and more fans are looking at it and saying, you know what, I can go and watch something different. I don't necessarily appreciate this. I don't necessarily appreciate it's 26 days. I don't necessarily appreciate the fact that, we're staying in Fiji. I don't necessarily appreciate the fact that they don't give clues to finding an advantage anymore, and that they're just giving it to them freely and it's easy to find. Like, there's so many little things that I think that everybody's level of tolerance is different, and some people have just reached that level where they're just like, you know what, the small thing is like the thing that just sets it over the edge for people.
Yeah, listen, not everyone is like me or you, where it doesn't matter how bad the show gets. Like I'm
Yeah, i'm
still,
gonna i'm gonna stay i'm gonna
and,
stay until the
and
wheels come off.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Until the ship burns to the ground, I'll still watch. But yeah, some people listen. I wouldn't be surprised if someone who was watching last season tuned in this season was like, "Oh, they're just showing reruns of last season. I've already seen this." Just because it looks the same. And 42, 43, like the names, there's no themes anymore, which I know we used to clown on the themes. People are going to say,
I'm
oh,
listening.
you're never happy. But like heroes, healers, hustlers. It's a
How are you
silly
gonna how are
theme,
you gonna
but
remember like a number down? Like, let's go 10. Like, I mean, there's a reason why when you look at it right now, you remember heroes versus villains. You
mhm,
remember David versus Goliath. You
mhm.
remember fans versus favorites. Because there were themes to these seasons where you're like, oh, that stands out in my mind. So 20 seasons onwards, I'll still remember those seasons. Season
Yep.
43, if we are lucky enough to hit season 65, what is going to be the thing about 43 that you're going to remember or grasp? Like, I feel like these later seasons, it gets harder. It should be easier to remember things because it's more fresh in
So
your
recent.
mind, but
Yeah.
it's more recent, but you forget it because there isn't a theme to it. So, and like Christian here says, it's 26 days format, no swaps and no reunion. And I don't think there's going to be a swap this season either.
That's
So,
disappointing. Yeah.
yeah. But listen, for those that are listening to the live, for those that are listening to the podcast, I'm actually pretty high on this season still. Like, I know it sounds like
No,
we're
I
being
am
negative.
too. We're being
I'm
really
actually
low right
enjoying.
now, but yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm
Yeah.
actually enjoying the season, but what we like to do on the podcast when we talk about it is we do go on tangents, we do go on rants about this
I
show as
get
a whole
I
and the
get caught
direction,
up.
because we're
Yeah.
passionate. We're passionate about this
Yeah.
show. We want it to continue very long, and I want Jake to be able to go on the show one day. You're only what, 21,
Yeah.
22 right now. If Jake hits
20.
28 or something, or
Yeah.
20, so 8 years
Yeah.
from now, I want you, Jake, to be on there. If you get on earlier, that's awesome, but I reckon
Yeah.
28, you'd be at your prime.
I'm with you. Yeah, I know. We were kind of crapping on the season. But it's funny. I get caught up, in whatever we're talking about. Like, oh yeah, that. Oh, and this. Oh, and this too. And then I just was piling on. But like, no, really. Like when I think about it, like these are solid episodes. Like if it
All three of
continues
them,
on,
yeah.
yeah, kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of last season. The early episodes were really solid, all of them.
I
Same with this
agree.
one. Yeah.
I agree. It sort of lost steam by the time that we went into the merge. At certain points for me, it was a bit boring, but
Yeah.
it's definitely nothing. It's exciting at this stage. It's not boring. There's a
Mhm.
lot happening. Obviously, I wanted to talk about Noel. We had a comment made here earlier by Quinn Van Galen. Quinn, welcome back to the live. Really liking the prospect of Noelle going on a deep run. Felt like this episode was her coming out party. And I agree with that comment. I think
Same.
it's a very accurate comment. Noelle stepped up. Last week we said, she wasn't in the challenge. Why? Was there a reason that she didn't do it? Did production tell her she couldn't do it?
Clearly,
Because
she's good enough of a swimmer. Clearly,
clearly.
yeah.
Well, I think what happened, based on what we can pick up from the comments that Cody and Jesse made after they lost this tribal council, they said that the whole thing about Noelle not having a leg, that's been put to rest now. She's shown that she can be a competitor. So I feel like Cody and them told her not to do that challenge and
Yeah,
to sit
just
out. And
crazy.
again, it just shows you that Cody and Jesse are not making the smartest decisions at times, even though we love both of them. Like I don't
Yeah,
think they're necessarily the masterminds that we
yeah.
thought they were when it comes to picking people, because you just look at Noelle. I mean, she's a fighter. Like if I had
She's
to
a
have
Paralympian.
anybody, yeah, if I had to have anyone in my corner to like have my back go into war, Noelle is my girl. She's the one I'm bringing in because she's
Mhm.
come back from more than what anybody else out there have had to experience. And she reinvented herself to become a para athlete. What was the Paralympian in a
Paralympian, yeah.
completely different sport to the one that
Yep.
she excelled in previously. Like, I mean, clearly
Yeah.
she's not going to go into a challenge and not perform.
I yeah, like, now that we know that, like, there was doubt surrounding her performance, like, how she would do, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, she did great in the first challenge. Like,
She did.
what gave them the idea of this? And correct me if I'm wrong again, but did she not tell them, "Oh, yeah, I'm a Paralympian"?
I don't know that part, and maybe someone
Okay.
in the chat can tell us that. I don't know if she's told them, and
Because
I don't know
maybe
if she
that's,
if
you
she
know
did, is it
yeah,
a smart move? I don't know if it is. Like, you don't want to be putting too much of a target on your back. You're someone with a phenomenal story. If you get to the end, you could potentially build a really good case for what you've had to overcome to get to the end and win the game. That's already a massive threat on its own. And now you're also telling people you're physically capable to a level that most people out there wouldn't be capable of doing things. I
yeah.
think that would put just too much of a target on her back. But I agree with Christian's comment. Like, definitely, I think that, or Quinn's comment, sorry. I do think that Noelle has come to play. I do think this is her coming out episode. She performed, she stepped up. The two people who ended up losing this challenge for Vessi here was none other than, once again, Neckar. They changed
Mm.
Jesse and Dwight. So, Dwight, good move on saying you would step back from doing the puzzle and rather put yourself in a physical position, because guess what? The clutch position is the one that is always going to be under the microscope if your tribe loses. And Dwight got himself out of that moving train, that moving freight train. But Neckar remained in it. So twice now they lost on the puzzle, and they lost with Neckar being at the helm when it comes to that. So obviously that's going to put a massive target on Neckar going back to camp. But there is a bit of business that needs to happen prior to this. We see Baka winning outright, which means that I did score quite a bit of points there for the Baka tribe members that I have. I had 3 tribe members. So on our points where I draft, I had 3 of them win an extra challenge outright. Remember, they have to win it outright to get the points. And then you had 2 in the Baka tribe as well who got some points from that. So I made a slight gain, but then I lost in a few other places, and we'll talk about that when we have to rip the Band-Aid on the points at the end of it. But Baka has to make a decision. They have to choose who's going to go to the island, potentially to get an advantage or something. They choose Noelle, which is an interesting choice by them to choose Noelle to go there. But they also choose Owen to go there from their side, which once again shows you Owen is in the middle because everybody's okay with Owen being the person who's going to go. So clearly,
Yeah,
everybody feels like they've got Owen in their pocket, which is really good for him. And
yeah.
then obviously the other person who goes there is the birthday boy himself, James, that goes there. What did you think of these decisions, Baka choosing to send Noelle down there, and how this sort of broke down at the immunity challenge?
I wasn't really that shocked about the picks for who to go. I was a bit shocked at, like, oh wow, Baka was actually able to pick up, like, oh, maybe Noel's on the bottom. Maybe they were able to suss out that she was maybe close to Justine, and then her leaving then left her on the bottom. So because usually they try to go send the person that's in trouble. But I was shocked at, like, Owen and James were just immediate, like, oh yeah, sure, we'll give you an advantage. Sure.
Yeah.
Like I was like, it was that easy. Like, I mean, is Noelle like this masterful social player,
I
or
don't
like
think
are
she
they
is.
just yeah
I don't think she is. And I'll
yeah
tell you my thinking around that. I do want to read out this live comment here for everybody that's listening to this at a later stage.
hmm,
Don't Read says, I've heard in a Rob Has a Podcast exit interview that she
okay
didn't tell them that she was a Paralympian. I believe it was Justine's exit interview. And that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Well done to Noelle for not telling them
yeah
for all the reasons we mentioned earlier. But I don't think Noelle is this mastermind. I don't think she's going in there and her charisma and charm is the thing that made them give the advantage to them. I just think it comes down to the fact that both Owen and James feels very comfortable where they're sitting in their tribes currently. Let's
yep
remember, Owen believes he's in the middle of that tribe. It can't
hmm
hurt. Like most people, like for instance, this is where I will, and maybe it's not Carla's fault on her own. It's also because of who she was there with. Dwight, I don't know how good he is in some social interactions. He seems to be good in others, not good in others. Like, I don't know. I'm still,
yeah
the jury's
yeah
out on
yeah
Dwight for me. And Gable probably wasn't the best person as well to talk game to. But, Carla potentially missed an opportunity to really game. I know they said they'll look out for each other if they do, or hopefully we see each other at merge. I don't think any promises were made. But these three, they were more gamers. Like James is a chess player. He's thinking 3-4 steps ahead. Let's get someone on the other tribe that I can work with when I get to the merge, someone that people may not know would be willing to work with me. Owen is in a game-winning situation for me right now in Baka, so there's nothing hurting him from taking this opportunity. And then Noelle is clearly desperate, and they probably saw the desperation on her when she got there and said, hey, I just lost my person. I don't have another person. I'm in trouble. I need this advantage. Anything to help me stay. But the one thing that was interesting as they left is that James said that she said she was going to take out a big player, and she did not take out a big player. So will that come back to bite her in the butt later on, where James is like, well, Necker wasn't that big player to take out. You probably should have taken out a Cody, for instance.
that's a good point. Maybe she can convince him that Neko is the mastermind of the Vessi tribe, but I don't think that's gonna work.
She was
That's a good
Suri.
point.
She was the
Yeah,
second coming
she
of
was
Suri, I
yeah.
promise you.
She had us all wrapped around her finger. No, that is a good point. I didn't even think about that. Maybe yeah, maybe they felt like that was a caveat. If you didn't take out a big player, then we don't owe you anything. Sorry.
I don't think
Um,
Owen would be
yeah.
like that. I think Owen, and I mean, James probably not either. And I might have taken a
Owen
lot from
Owen's
that
just
one comment.
he's just cruising along. He seems like he's just like yeah, cool.
He's
Yeah,
playing the game that you should be
yeah,
playing in this new
yeah,
Survivor. You should be sitting back, letting other people make crazy moves, letting other
yeah.
people get these crazy advantages and expose themselves in the game. And then in the end, you take out the biggest threat and you win the game. That is the strategy now when it comes to the new age of Survivor. It incentivizes players to play a more low key game. I am very fearful for big players like Cody, for instance. I just don't see him winning, or Sammy, for instance. Don't see him winning. Ellie playing a boss game, being aggressive. I don't know if I see the road for her to the end to actually win. I actually think Janine is more dangerous than Ellie by a lot, because she's using Ellie without Ellie knowing. Ellie is the this blunt tool of
hmm
force that she is getting to go out and do all her dirty work and talk to people, while Janine is sitting back saying, hey, I'm not running the show on this side. And I
Yep.
think she is very capable. Like, we haven't seen enough for me to know if she'll win, but then again, she's probably on par with Erica in regards to her confessionals and how much we've seen of her. She could still win.
Listen, we can't count anyone out in these early episodes anymore. It's just foolish to think that. Yeah, I think she's pretty on the same amount of confessionals as Erica was. I mean, I think she got like one confessional in the premiere, and then I don't even think she got any in episode 2. And then it was just like very sporadically in the pre-merge because they never went to tribal. And then it was when the hourglass twist when she really broke out.
Yeah. JE here says, yes, it could turn into an Evie and Deshaun situation from 41, where Evie said she would take out Xander, and then he had an idol and didn't, and it came back to bite her in the butt. Very well could. And Hangout Room here saying she took out the big player in terms of weakening an alliance in that tribe, which is true, because you could also say Neko was kind of, in some ways, the glue that kept those boys together, because Cody You know, it was very close for some other reason with Necker. They were joined by the hip. I mean, everybody saw that. And then Jesse saw Necker as potentially his mother and saying, like, there's so much between like his mother who passed away, so much in common that Necker has with his mother who passed away because his mother had an open door policy. His mother was someone that did all this missionary work and had a ministry of her own. Necker has a lot of these same things. So it's very emotional for Jesse to make this move. And where's Sierra when you need her to just come in here
Voting
and
out
make
his
the moves
mom.
that needs to happen?
I was gonna say this, yeah, like Sierra 2.0. I mean, Jeff is gonna be talking about Jesse voting out his mom for years to come now.
Years to come. But listen, I know we're making light of the situation. It
Yeah.
must be traumatic though if you've lost your mother.
No,
And
absolutely.
you don't
Yeah.
get to talk to your mother anymore. You know, I think that's the nuance that some people are missing here. And he
Yeah.
felt like how he felt talking to his mother was kind of like having his mother alive again. And I think that's the different level where, you know, Sarah knew she was going to vote out her mom. Everything was going to be cool afterwards. She was going to
Exactly.
talk to her mom. Would maybe at family reunions she would have the ability to give her stick for it for eternity because she voted her out in Survivor. But she's still there. She's still got a mom, you know. So, but again, like I said, you know,
Yeah.
an interesting dynamic here because Cody and Jesse they have to decide: do they go with Dwight and Noelle in this stage, who proved herself in the challenges, and vote out a solid number? And we see this play out season after season, Jake, and different people have played this out in different ways. We should actually go back at some point and look at the past times that this has happened. How many times does it work out favorably for a player when they vote a loyal alliance member out, opposed to voting out someone that is not with them but may keep the tribe strong? Do you have an opinion on this? What is the right strategy off the top of your head? Do you feel like we're 50-50 on how it's played out? I feel like we may be 50-50 on how it's played out in the end, but it can go horribly wrong for them moving forward because they now lost someone that was never going to write their name down.
No, that's true. I actually don't. Usually I'm pretty savvy on the Survivor history, but I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are on. If this has worked out, how many times this has worked out versus how many times it hasn't. But to me, this was kind of a lose. I mean, this was a lose-lose situation. I think that there really was a genuine chance that if they kept NECA, that they would have just kept losing because they have to play NECA in the challenges. They can't sit anyone out, and she can't swim very well. She can't do puzzles. I don't know how well she would do like endurance wise, but I would assume not too well. So it's just dead weight. And I think that maybe it would be smart to just like maybe throw a challenge and vote Noelle out and just like keep those three, which if they were to throw, there's no guarantee that they would even be able to get Noelle out. So now they're kind of screwed.
They're in a bad situation.
Yeah.
And Quinn brings it up here. I think Jesse and Cody messed up. They're now banking on not losing a pre-jury challenge. And as good as Noelle is, I could still see them lose. And then it's a 2-2, and Noelle and Dwight are in
Got to steal a
control.
vote.
Steal
Yeah.
a vote. Yeah, they've got the steal a vote. So the vote with the steal a vote. So it would definitely upset things in this next one. And obviously, Cody's got an immunity necklace or bracelet that no one's aware of except for Jesse. But they're going to have to really think about who do they play it on. And it's going to be a 50-50. It's going to be a shot in the dark. It's going to be a 50-50 coin
This
flip
would be
as to if they're
crazy.
staying safe or not, you know?
It'd be
So
crazy.
it could be interesting. But we'll have to see how this plays out. Will they actually win challenges moving forward? Because it is still early game. I feel like that tribe could have been decimated to a certain degree. We've only lost 3 players. We're losing at least another 3 or 4 players right before we even go into the merge.
Depending on how early they merge, and I don't know if they're still doing the. I know they're not doing the hourglass, but I think that they are still doing the like you got to earn the merge thing where like one tribe makes it to the merge and the other tribe doesn't. So I'm unsure of what the numbers are, but it's at least 3.
The
I would say.
hourglass twists this out. Jeff said
Mhm.
that's not coming back. He
Mhm.
confirmed that much, as far as I'm aware. I mean, we riot. That might be the thing. That might be the camel. That might be the thing that breaks the camel's back for me. If they bloody bring this,
No,
you know,
seriously, they're so bad.
psych, you didn't win. I don't want to see that again. It's played
Yeah.
out. But yeah, they do go in the direction here where they keep Noelle. Noelle only tells one person about the fact that she's got the Steeler vote, which is Dwight. I don't hate that. Normally, I'm not a fan of telling people anything if you don't have to, but Dwight seems to be the only person that she's got in the game right now and that she can trust. And as long as it stays there, then maybe this is a good thing, and it's in both their interests for it to remain a secret. And I do think that if they make the merge with the current numbers, they won't play it. But she held onto it for this vote. She's not holding onto it for next vote. She is playing it. So I think the chances are very likely she's not going to go into a merge with this advantage, which is going to put a target on her back. So I don't necessarily hate the fact that she told him about it at this stage to continue to build that trust with Dwight in the game.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking. I actually realized, like, I think that this last vote, I believe that Jesse and Cody literally were losing no matter what. Like, literally in any situation, even if they chose to vote Noel, because here's why. They would have, I'm assuming, gone to Dwight and said, hey, we're voting out Noel. What
Yes.
is Dwight going to do? He's going to go to Noel and say, they're voting for you. They have the steal vote, and they could have used it to flip the numbers to their side. And so, unless they decided not to tell Dwight, which I feel like they would have, um, there was no winning. They were astronomically screwed no matter what, um, because Noel got the advantage. I mean, this is crazy how fast it flipped. Just because I never thought that the steal vote would be
This powerful.
this effective, this impactful, but like in a small tribe like this, it really is.
I was just going to say, it's the type of game we're seeing now with 3 tribes of 6 that
Hmm.
has changed the whole dynamic when it comes to a stealer vote and actually makes it powerful. Like having the stealer vote at the merge, who cares? Like there's 10 or 12 people still in the
Yeah,
game, but having it right here definitely gives you an opportunity for some gameplay. And
yeah,
it just landed in the person's hands that needed it the most coming into this thing. But I think that regardless, I don't think they really were going to take that risk to not vote out NECA at this point, because in their mind, they're like,
yeah,
we need to start winning some challenges. And another thing we haven't spoken about yet is that they're now, after this tribal council, 4 days, I believe, without a flint. That's 4 days without being able to make fire. That's 4 days without being able to drink water, unless they're drinking the water straight from the well, which we've heard from some survivor players in the past that they've done that, and then they come out of it with parasites and all sorts of medical issues where it messes them up really badly. So they're hurting right now. And this is why I don't like the whole I'm going to take your flint, because I think that it creates this unfair power dynamic between the haves and have nots within Survivor, where when you're on this vicious losing cycle, it's just going to get worse and worse for you. And I don't think fans, and I could be wrong here, those that are in the live, let me know if you like this. None of us like to see a steamrolling. We want to see, like, my best outcome is for Coco to go to Tribal Council next week. I want to see what that tribe's going to do. And I want the numbers to be as even as possible going into a merge.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I loved about last season is that they came in. All tribes had 4 people, and if it weren't for the stupid hourglass, then it really would have been like a true merge with even numbers. That kind of got ruined, but yeah, I don't want to see a steamrolling at all, and I think that they were on that route if they would have kept NECA, and still could happen even with keeping Noel.
Yeah. And I can confirm for those listening to this at a later stage or listening to the audio version that the live stream has definitely agreed with us. None of them like seeing a one sided affair out there when it comes
Mhm.
to those that are winning and losing and who's got and who doesn't have in the game. There's a few people saying they don't think Red will go there for a third time. JE says, I think there's going to be a double tribal episode this pre-merge, so Coco could end up going at least once if there is only one tribe that stays safe. Christian Gale says, Dwight is the new Bryce. I think Christian has said that previously as well. I can see it to a certain degree, but I do think that he's a little bit like Bryce, I feel like would play like Dwight is playing now, but he didn't play like that the first time he was out there. I feel like Bryce was a little bit too over the top and a little bit too forthcoming in what he wanted to do, where I do think Dwight has got a little bit more subtlety to how he's playing. I think Bryce would play like that now, but it took him going out there and being an early boot to probably have the same mindset as Dwight going out there. That's my opinion on that. Let's have a look at the tribes that we've got, and let's do some of the things I don't really want to do here, which is to remove another person from my tribe. It's 3 in a row, Jake. Like, how did we get here? How did we get to a point where we're in the season? I came off a win in Survivor South Africa. I came off a win in the challenge, and I'm coming into this thing. I've never had it happen to me before, but 3 people in a row is out of my tribe, giving you a very good lead at this point when it comes to the teams.
Yeah, what happened, Chris, is you didn't have to go up against me. You didn't have a fair competition.
I don't know if Zoe would agree with you if Zoe's still in the live. She gave me a run for my money for a long period in that game. I don't know if she would agree.
Well, the numbers are speaking for themselves right now. So, but yeah, my top 2. Although I do have the numbers advantage, my top 2 are on the decline at the moment. So something needs to happen for those 2 to get back to their former glory.
I was going to say, so I just lost, for those that are listening to the audio format, I lost Neka. Neka was in my team. That means I've got 6 players left in my team. Those players are Owen, Noel, James, Cody, Semi, and Janine. Jake still with the full house of 9 players here. He's got Jesse, Ali, Lindsay, Ryan, Gabler, Carla, Cassidy, Dwight, and Gio in his team. So he hasn't lost any of those yet. But I do feel like in some ways I've cut out some of the players early on that really didn't give me all that much points in any case. Like Justine, total of 5.5 points. Moira, 0.5. I mean, to be fair, she was out in the first episode. Neka, 7.5 points. So they weren't big point getters of mine, but I still have some powerhouses left in the game. I do think Owen has got a chance, and he is my sleeper pick to win this season at the moment. Like I'm starting to really feel good about Owen's chances in the game because we're always getting his take and his opinion about things. If he can continue to play the middle ground, he's making the merge, and I think he's got that cross-tribal ability to work with Noel now, and that could bring in Dwight, who I think could also very easily fit in with Owen's more calm vibe, and they could be dangerous together. So Noel, obviously, I've just mentioned her. I feel good about her. I feel good about Sammy. Cody is the person at the moment that's running away with the points, but I feel worried for him. He's going to be that person that they're going to take I reckon he could be a merge boot or like an early merge boot if he gets there, just because he's going to be a threat.
Definitely. I think he's going to be one of the first people to be targeted because he's going to be in the minority. You know, his tribe has already been whittled down to just 4 people. We'll see how the numbers are going into it, but it's not looking good right now.
So let's talk about the points here, Jake. Let's get into it. So another week here, you were leading last week. You're still very much in the lead here at this point at 135 points. I have closed the gap somewhat. I'm on 112 points at this stage. So still within spitting distance here of each other. My top point getter at this stage is also the top point getter outright for this at the moment. It's Cody at 29.5 points. In second place, we've got Gabler on 25 points. And then in third place, we've got Ellie on 23 points. Those are the top 3 players currently on our point system. And for those that are watching it on the video part of it or in the live stream here, I will bring up the Google Sheet so we can have a look at what has happened so far. I just got to figure out how to make this a little bit bigger again. So here is the points. So as you can see there, Cody running away on confessionals, 24 confessionals. He's had one vote against them, so that's minus 0.5. He's had one challenge win outright, which was the very first one of the season, and he's found an advantage, which has given him points. For Mike, who's on 25 points, he's had 16 confessionals. He's won 2 challenges outright, and he's found an advantage, which is still in his pocket. He could still play that. Ali, 23 points, 17 confessionals, 2 challenge wins at this stage, is putting her in that 3rd spot. But when it comes to the confessionals, your Cody, top again, 24. Ali and Jesse, very much second on 17 confessionals each. So the one thing that is keeping Jesse back on the point slightly, ever so slightly at this point, is just outright challenge wins, which could still change before the end of the season. And what I like about this, Jake, is that as long as you lose 1 or 2 people next, it's an open race when we get to the merge, because there is a lot of points here up for grabs when we get to the end of the season. Most confessionals looking quite much like it's going to be Cody at this stage, 25 points. It's a lot of points to be gotten, like potentially for someone at the end. Most individual immunity wins, 25 points. Most advantages found, 25 points. And then least votes casted against them will definitely at this stage be one of your players, because guess what? None of your players have had a single vote against them as of yet, Jake. All my players have had votes against them.
Wow.
That's how much you've dominated.
Well, it's mostly because I got all the blue people except for one, and they haven't even gone. So once they, if they go, then obviously one of them's gonna.
You're leaning heavily on this blue tribe. You're leaning very heavily on this blue tribe, and that gives me some comfort, because at this stage I have not seen enough to think the winner is coming from blue.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Carla is probably the only one I could potentially see. And I would be excited to see how she gets there on her own, because normally the winner does have some other really well-edited people around them, which I don't feel like she's got that at this stage. So it's going to be an interesting journey.
Let's not forget Erica, Chris. I mean, she was on I forget the name of the tribe, but they were also the blue tribe, and they didn't go to a single pre-merge.
Yes. But Deshaun and Danny were edited really well that season, and we did see a lot from them throughout the season.
Yeah.
So I feel like there needs to be like 1 or 2 people around the winner that you at least know who they are, because they're likely to make it deep in the game. But who knows? Like, we could be wrong. We're reading a lot into the edit here, as we like to do. It's one of the things we find a lot of enjoyment in. But Jake, what else do we have to talk about in this episode? I feel like we've gone through everything. I feel like we did a good job here today. Live, let us know if there's any final questions you've got.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I think we've covered it all.
Yeah. One thing that I will say, just before we get out of here, that Christian earlier mentioned that the classic raid is going to come back next week. We saw that in the next of episode. And we did see, for those that watched Survivor South Africa, we did see a raid not that long ago. I believe it was in Survivor South Africa Immunity Island. And that led to some explosive interactions. And let's leave it at that. Be very politically correct about this. Very explosive reactions.
This is a good addition. This is going to add some petty drama that I like to see. I like that sprinkled in to Survivor. I mainly come for the gameplay, but I love the characters and the petty drama as well.
Yeah, same. JE here asking, do you guys think Gabler will be medevaced?
I don't know
I'm
about
go
that.
On a limb and say no. I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say he might quit if it really gets, I mean, if he's already struggling on like day 6 or 7, I mean, that's a bit concerning, but I don't think he'll be medically evacuated, because, I mean,
I hope not. It's not fun seeing people go out that way.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, nothing at the moment is like medically like they got to step in. It's all just like kind of he's got to just overcome it.
He did confirm though that he does work in the surgery room this week. So, because we've been going back and forth about this, and he sort of confirmed like he's a heart valve specialist and he's in the surgery room.
I swear I read something that like he's not a medical doctor.
I'm sure you gotta have some qualification to be.
I don't think he does. But,
yeah, I don't think the doctors and the nurses
are
letting you into the surgery room, if you don't have some sort of a qualification to get in there in the first place. So you're being Ellie in this situation. Why do you think he's this hillbilly from down south that doesn't know how to do anything?
This is just I'm literally just going off of what I read because it's just interesting to call yourself a heart valve specialist instead of doctor or surgeon. I think
Yeah.
it's a bit uh, strategically calling himself a heart valve specialist instead of. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm pulling an Ellie and just taking him for at face value and thinking he's a dumb hillbilly. But
JE says he's not a doctor. I'm not sure. Maybe we should do a little bit of investigative journalism at the end of this, and see if he actually is a doctor or not. JE also says the last time we saw a raid was in Cagayan. I didn't realize that it was that long ago. That's a
oh, you're
massive.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. And then that's when Tony pretended to give Jeremiah an
Great
advantage.
moment.
That was great. Yeah. Oh, that season's so good.
Yeah. Quinn also asking here, do you think Carla will tell anyone about her idol? I think that better players. No, actually, that's harsh. I actually think Carla's a really good player. So I was going to say better players than her has done so in the past, but I should say great players because I don't know necessarily if they're all better than her. Great players
Hmm.
have done so in the past. They have told other people, and I feel like being on the island and having 48 hours between tribal councils and a lot of hours to just sit there, chances are you're going to tell the wrong person about it at the wrong time. I
Hmm.
hope not. I hope she keeps it to herself because I
Me
like
too. Yeah.
I like the cutthroat villainous game that she's playing and acting like she's all innocent and she's everybody's friend. I like that. We
Yeah.
need that. We need that. I'm desperate for some great villainesses.
Yep.
JE saying, can't believe that Ellie underestimated Gabler's intelligence like
I
that.
mean, come on. Like he can read. He can read a note. He can clearly see it says. Yeah, I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, Don't Read says Gable is smart. I think he's just kind of overblowing his medical condition or just the fact that he's struggling out there. And different people react differently to it, like you don't know how you're going to react when you've been out there for days without creature comforts, food, water, all that
Yeah.
kind of necessities that we take for granted in our everyday life. But I think that's it, Jake. We've done a good job. We've gotten through episode 3. I'm excited to see what episode 4 brings. Hopefully, we get
Same.
to see you
Yep.
finally lose a player, and I can make up some points on
Mm-mm.
the draft.
No. No,
You
sir.
don't want that. I want that.
No.
For those that are only dropping in late and listening to this, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's absolutely free. That means that we know you love the content that we put out there, and hit the subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment below. What did you agree with? What didn't you agree with? What is your hot takes for this episode? What's your TNT takes as well? We love seeing the comments and everything. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We will be back next week, same time, same place, most likely. Talk to you guys then, and good night.